about what the role of government ought to be. And that is important because no matter how many people you have in Washington, they will reflect the demands of the people. So if the people still say entitlements are rights and we want to steal money from one group and you give it to us, it's not going to work. So we have to change the people's attitude about the role of government. But there's another area that we have to at least address, and I believe we have to change to get this correction over with. And that has to do with what we're doing overseas. We're spending, the DOD budget's not this big, but believe me, there are a lot of other budgets that are involved in what we're doing overseas. The intervention, the State Department, the CIA, our troops, and taking care of the wounded and all, it's costing us over $1 trillion. Our wars in the last 10 years, 10, 11 years now, has added $4 trillion worth of debt to our national debt. But just think of, what if we'd have had this $4 trillion in the economy? Just think how much richer this economy would be. And what have we gotten for all these wars? We've gotten nothing but grief. I mean, we're not spreading our Constitution. We're not spreading our goodness. We're spreading a viewpoint of America which I don't think is a good viewpoint of America. A lot of people believe they have a moral obligation, starting with Woodrow Wilson, that we had to prove to the world that we were the most moral and most wise nation, and we had the right and the obligation to force our way and to teach other people. This though doesn't work. Using force to force our goodness on anybody cancels out all the goodness. Now, America's been a great country, the freest and the richest, and we have a lot of wonderful traits and wonderful characteristics that we want to. But why don't we concentrate on a free market economy, a sound currency, protection of civil liberties, a sensible foreign policy, and then we could be a nation where other countries would want to emulate us and follow our lead. But unless we change our attitude, and that means the people, about how much we should be involved overseas, it's not going to happen. We're going to work to the bankruptcy, and that's not real far off. So my position is that it should be a lot easier for liberals and conservatives and independents to come together and cut overseas spending and cut these wars. That's what I think would be the easiest thing to cut. Which simply means we bring our troops home as soon as possible. Now, the other thing about this is that it's a way to work our way out of it. If we don't work our way out of it and have a dollar collapse, everybody's checks bounce. And then you have political chaos, and then I worry about our civil liberties. But if we do this sensibly and cut this spending overseas, what about all this effort to worry about a border that nobody can identify between Pakistan and Afghanistan? Think of how much fighting and killing we're going over there. Nobody even knows where it all is, so we just bomb everybody, you know. But what about our own borders to the south? There's a responsibility of the federal government. We could do that with a lot less resources than worrying about all those overseas borders. And in the last 5 years, it is estimated that 50,000 people have been killed on that border down there. And it involves not only, I think, less so the immigration problem than our failed policy on the drug war, I think, is part of the reason. But we once again would have to change our foreign policy and adapt the policy that the founders gave us. And even up until the mid part of the last century, many conservative Republicans endorsed. And that is that we ought to mind our own business. And but they'll come up with all these arguments where, oh, there's a civil war going on there and people are getting killed. They have no idea who the good guys and the bad guys are. There's probably bad guys on both sides, but we have to get involved, they say. But how many times did we get involved with the most vicious of dictators, you know, from Stalin to Mao Zedong and all these people? They killed millions, and yet we did business with them. So this whole idea that there's war propaganda going on. War drums are beating. They're ready to go into Syria. We don't need a war in Syria, and we don't need a war in Iran. I'll tell you that. Now, the big economic advantage of this, if we decide to work our way out, which is what I'm working to do, and that is if you cut back